Now that we discussed some of the barriers, let's talk about some of the responses to those barriers. The biggest way to respond to all the barriers that we spoke on earlier is focusing your effort outside of the crisis. Once we know what the barriers are, then we want to focus our efforts outside of the crisis before the crisis happens. You want to create and develop specific strategies, again, directed toward that student beforehand. Now, if we know there's a student who has a barrier in their environment as far as the technology, we want to come up with a strategy to address the technological issues that student is having before a crisis happens. If we know that that student is struggling with motivation, then we want to start off with our interactions with that student. We making sure they're motivated. If we have an issue with a lack of supervision, then we may need to have a conversation with the counselor. We may need to have a conversation with the social worker. We may need to have a conversation with the parent to increase supervision so that this kid can be set up for success before this kid is acting out. Whatever the barrier is, whether the barrier is within you, whether the barrier is within the student, whether the barrier is the environment, let's address and develop that strategy before the crisis. Within the crisis, at the opportunity to promote choice and trust. Again, so now there's a crisis happening. Let's look into that situation and we want to promote choice and trust in that crisis situation. So we came up with a strategy outside the crisis. Now we're in the crisis and we want to promote to that student choice and trust. Look, I know this is what you want to do, but I believe that you can make a better choice. I believe that you can do better. I'm going to give you the opportunity. I'm going to wait because I believe that you want to do better. I believe that you can do better. Last week you made a better choice. And if you could do it last week, I know you can do it this week. So I'm going to give you a minute to think about it. Do you really want to do this and risk getting in trouble and getting put out of school and dropping out of school? Or do you really want to be successful? So I'm going to give you the opportunity to make that choice. When they're in a situation, give them the opportunity to promote that choice, promote that trust. And then lastly, utilize proper documentation and organizational oversight. This is where you're using your skills, you're using your emails, you're letting your administrators know what's going on, you're documenting the things in Infinite Campus. You are using these opportunities to document what's going on so that you can get the supports that you need. When it comes to student support, staff, a lot of our work is dependent on documentation. For instance, I can't put a kid on my caseload as a P&I specialist unless I have paperwork to prove why I'm doing it. A lot of 504s, a lot of IEPs have to have data. So, right, make the write-ups be as detailed as possible. If you're not using Swiss and you're not using Infinite Campus, it could be as simple as jotting down some notes. It could be as simple as sending out emails. We need the documentation to make sure that we are setting up a situation for that kid to be successful. So utilize your documentation. Document. Very important in responding to those barriers.